Welcome to another live reaction. This week we're looking at the third episode of Carole and Tuesday. We're well into the third week of the anime season now, and most shows you can tell if they're going to be good or bad. So without further ado, let's get started. So we haven't really talked about the first little introduction that they've been doing for the past 3 episodes, right? And we know that they're on Mars. We know that they're in this weird city. We haven't really been told anything about Earth or anything like that. And it might be good to know like what those miraculous 7 minutes are. Was it some kind of like John Henry-esque like battle against the machine where they just take on these AI music making machines and they win and they come out on top? Is it something like some kind of peace treaty where their performance is what inspires Mars to make peace with Earth? And I'm not assuming that Mars is at war with Earth, but generally in all fiction, Mars is at war with Earth for whatever reason. So is it something like that? We haven't really been told. That might be the ultimate culmination of this season or a later season. I've been told that the show is going to be 2 cores, so we're only like an eighth of a way into this. I don't think they're going to do another season of this. They might, but I feel like it's going to be a self-contained 1 season story. So whatever it is, we're going to find out eventually what they're going to do that's so miraculous that we have to be told about it before every episode starts. So. And that lyric literally like is what the theme of the show is all about, right? They said we could change this world today with you. That's really what the show is about. It's about these 2 girls coming together to make music and change the world. That's what we've been told time and again every time the episode starts, is that these 2 girls were the ones who set in motion the miraculous 7 minutes that all of Mars will remember, right? And we're told again and again about the AI and about this model who's being thrust into this AI like music making system where they're pushing her as this product with the AI behind her. And then we're shown like the contrast of Carole and Tuesday like living on the street, not having much, sneaking into a concert hall to perform and things like that. And really this is about like making a difference on the grassroots level. I think in terms of like what this show is about, I think definitely that's what they're going towards. So we're told that the narrator guy who's been saying all this is the manager who stuck his head through the door in such a creepy way, which we finished on last episode. I don't know what is he some kind of like history buff to talk about how these girls are having a historical impact? I always thought the narrator would be someone like just not related to the story at all, but I guess it's cool that it's the manager, so we know what point of view he's addressing it from. Remember last episode, he did come and say, I'm going to be your manager. He like thrust himself into their apartment, so let's see what happens. This is unrelated, but I just thought it was really cool that they're growing tomatoes on the floor of the building, because one of the trends that's been like emerging as people need more food in the city and they're like so interested in like farm to table and things like that is urban farming. I think is it Elon Musk's brother or someone has a company where he grows plants in a shipping container with UV light and stuff. This is not quite so like sterile and unaesthetic. They're just growing it on a roof, which looks way cooler. And this is one of the elements of science fiction, like introducing differences from the world that you're in watching the show. And they pick their differences very keenly, because otherwise it would get too bogged in the like minutia of the world and not so much on the characters. Because remember, again, the show is all about the characters. We're not too worried about the world. The things that we have learned are important, like about the AI and everything like that, but we're not told overly excessive details. So this is the first time we've been told like one of these how the world works details, and I think they picked a good one, because who doesn't like tomatoes? Oh, before we forget, her mom is like this like presidential figure. She's running for election or something, and that's why she doesn't want to call the police and find her daughter who's missing. They have no idea that she's safe, by the way. She could have been like, they know she left of her own free will to go to Alba City, but when she got there, there's no guarantee that she's going to be safe or anything like that. They assume that she hasn't died because she keeps using her card, but she doesn't use her card. So I don't know how they just know that she's going to be safe, unless they're not that concerned with whether or not she's safe. That's the only conclusion I can come to. I just think it's interesting that her mom is this political figure. I know it's going to be paid off in some regard, because generally, Watanabe directed series, he's not just going to go into this for no reason. There's going to be some payoff related to her mom's political career at some point, right? So I'm looking forward to that. Yuck. She's so old. Oh, it's okay. I mean, do whatever you want, I guess. It's so funny, like, because I think I'm like my generation or the generation just after me is gonna be the first that has no idea who the Beatles is. Like, if I asked my niece or something, someone who's like, "Who's the Beatles?" They'd be like, What the heck? What is that?" It's like some kind of insect appreciation group. Um, so I think it's funny that they just make a joke like Beatles who. I think it's like modern current day humor, but even in that, because the Beatles are old even now, but even in the future they're still old. So I just think that's funny. Okay, so I already know where this is going. This is like one of those YouTube celebrity house tour type deals where they like just go into someone's house and they look around. They're like, "Oh, hey, oh, okay, you're just standing there with that camera. Oh, come on in. I didn't know you were coming today. This is how I look every day. This is how this house looks all the time. It's never looked anything other than this." And this even goes further because they have a brand inclusion. They're just marketing this soda without like any inhibitions or anything. Um, I really like this storyline of this model girl, like just having no life, like her whole life is just commercial interest. I wish they would show us like her rebelling or something like that. I think they've already done that to some degree in that she's tried to like not be part of the system, but I want them to do more of that. That'd be interesting. So let's contrast a little bit. Even in this scene where they're talking to him at the diner or whatever cafe, there's a little bit of contrast in how he thinks they should go about doing things, right? And if you've known anyone who's trying to do music or anything like that, this is like the classic advice that you get is like, go to a few smaller clubs, get your name out there, and then eventually you'll be hired for something bigger, and you'll start to make the real money, right? But if you think about it, that really breaks down to some extent in the world of the internet, because how many people are going to know about you even if you do a few smaller clubs like 200, 300 people, and what guarantee is it that those people are the ones who are going to attend whatever event that you get booked at a like bigger place? And this guy's like, oh, what if they were featured by some big shot DJ? And I think that the synonymous thing to that would be like some famous person shouting out your track or your EP or something and being like, "Hey, this is good. I like this. Go listen to this," or something like that. It's like a signal boost to get you more exposure or something like that. And I just thought it was an interesting like contrast between what he thinks, because remember, Carole and Tuesday is like the underground, like classical, traditional type music group, but even they have to like use modern methods to try to increase their fame, like having an Instagram or whatever. I just thought that was interesting. What? Why are they in some kind of weird hermit yoga class? What's happening? Literally space yoga. They're not even making excuses about it. They're just gonna call it space yoga. I wonder at what point in our world we'll get space yoga, because I feel like it's coming pretty soon. We're moving in that trend. Like Elon Musk is pushing for us to go towards Mars and whatnot. I feel like within the next 5 to 10 years, we're gonna have space yoga. This guy is really getting annoying. Like every episode, they show him like saying some other like truism about the system being perfect and thus humans needing to fit into the machines, and the machines being like cold and calculating and perfection or whatever. I'm getting real tired of this guy. He's gonna get his comeuppance at some point. I just wish it happened sooner rather than later, so we didn't have to listen to him go on about this. This is the DJ we saw before who was playing the concert hall. Shouldn't he have been their first choice? Why did he make it sound like it was a surprise that they got him? I don't know. Maybe it's going to be revealed that it wasn't a surprise and he wanted to play them anyway, but I just thought he would be their first choice given that he was basically there when they did their performance in the concert hall. Also, we just had two very different voice training scenes. One was all spiritual woo-woo, and the other one was like cold and calculating. There was a saw and a laser pointed at her throat. You can't get more contrasting than that, but at this point, I don't think there's much point in pointing that out anymore. But I just thought it was funny that he wants the singer to fit the song, even though literally AI can make it sound like anything. Also, hasn't he ever heard of auto-tune? He could make anything fit the song, just modulate the voice. Why didn't he do that? This guy just has a very weird characterization to me. It doesn't really make much sense, even in the logic of the world. Because he's made it sound like the AI can do anything, but he's also made it sound like there's this inflexible kind of rule system that people have to adapt to, and those things don't work together. It's interesting that her guardian is like a child actor type person, because if you've seen any of those shows like featuring kids that get into anything like sports, show business, whatever, it's always their parents that like push them in this direction. That's why they start so young, is like they push them in this direction and they just continue to go down it as the default option, and they don't really have any other choice in the matter. And I think it's funny that she's also been pushed down the same path. I wonder what her eventual like character realization will be, like, oh, I don't want to be part of the system, or I want to do it my own way, because I think it will go in one of those two directions, and I'm interested to see which direction it goes. Just casually mentioning Me Too like in this show, because it does deal with two female leads, so I guess they have to mention it at some point to just like casually throw it in there. I mean, good that you included it. Okay that it's a joke, but hey, what to do? Oh, it's that one Banksy piece. They've kind of gone out of their way to not mention what kind of, like, how far in the future this is, but they keep making references to like things that happen in our time. So it's clearly in the same like world. And this is that Banksy piece that got half shredded, and now this guy has it. He also has another Banksy on the left, on the right there. I don't know why he has these, because these are like supposed to be like part of the rebellion, but they've been integrated into the high art society. That's why it's so ironic to see this in a gallery. It's like he meant this to be an act of subversion, but that act of subversion had been absorbed into the, you know, overarching system. Is that some kind of thing that's going to happen now? Like they're part of the rebellion against the AI and whatnot, and they're approaching this DJ guy he's going to try to absorb them into the system somehow. I may be reading too much into this. You know, I probably am. This dude is next level creepy. He just has a pool full of like random women, and then these girls walk in and he just starts doing push-ups. Yep. In his like Speedos. This dude is next level creepy. Oh wow, he flips the tables. He's like implying that they are the ones who are interested in this and not him, because they never said anything about that, right? He's just assuming because that's what he assumed. It's funny. Also, like in this world, like people who make music are considered like, oh, that's cute. You made music. That's cool. Call me when you have an AI do it for you, because that's considered more serious. It's like, poof, that's like such an inversion of the tables that it blows your mind. Whoa, okay, bro. Okay. I mean, it's not the most complicated song. It's not like on some next level musically, but you know, it's a nice song, and it's genuine in that you should probably listen to it anyway. But this, I think, accurately portrays like the approach the industry has to the like genuine artists in this world. That's probably why there's not many of them. You know, they're not selected for in the system. So that's good to see that, you know, he's upholding the rules that got him to where he is. That's character consistency. Well, if that didn't leave an impression, I don't know what did. He looks like traumatized after that one. Good job, Tuesday. I mean, they can rewrite the sheet music or whatever, but you can't get that look on a dude's face ever again. He's just like, what? Where did these people come from? Why are they acting like this? And they're like the typical, like, I'll make it and I'll show you kind of thing that you see from people who have been, continuously told they can't do it their whole lives. So, we know that they're not going to go the mainstream music route of getting it played by a DJ now, that's for sure. So they're probably going to have to do it the traditional way, which, hey, for their aesthetic, I think that works better. So that was Carole and Tuesday episode 3. And we are steadily moving along the route of where we're going to go. Like I already mentioned with this show is really taking its time establishing the characters in the world and their journey, and it's really going at a very measured pace. So we're not going to see anything like just upend this in the next like 2 episodes. Nothing's going to happen to drastically change this. This is not one of those shows where you have a twist and then suddenly the whole story is completely different, right? That's not the point of the show. The point of the show is to steadily take you from ground zero, where they both met, to like the heights of success, where we're eventually going to reach the miraculous 7 minutes that we keep getting told about in every episode. That's the point of the whole show. And we're steadily moving along it. Like with every episode, we're eliminating something, or we're moving along a system, and we're also learning more about how the mainstream industry works, right? Which is not something we know because we don't have any AI-driven music industries where we live. And the character that they have in the AI system is not like the most likable character ever, but you even feel sorry for her when she's going through all this. AI related stuff, because it's like poking and prodding at her and so like unfeeling and completely calculated and like not spontaneous at all. And I was wondering like why they chose to do it that way, which is like so traditionally kind of stereotypically machine kind of language. Like generally machines are cold and unfeeling and things like that, but the AI was supposed to be different, because if you remember in the first or second episode, he said, I even have a warmth setting for the AI. They can make it so that the AIs have warmth in their voice. So I would have liked it if they'd taken a kind of a different approach to the whole AI thing and been like, hey, these AI aren't just cold and unfeeling, and have maybe have like the AI have voices that talk to the girl or something, be like, what do you want the song to be like, or whatever, just something different. Not that there's anything wrong with this. There's still a point to all this, which is that the AI is supposed to be cold and Carole and Tuesday are supposed to be like genuine and sincere and warm. That's the whole point. There's really one other thing that I wanted to say is the show is being aired in Japan right now, but it's not being aired in the West at all, right? That's because Netflix bought the streaming rights and they're only going to put it up after the whole show goes up. And what that means is, as this show is airing, people who initially heard about it but either don't have a way to watch it or don't want to do the obvious way of watching it, they just lose interest in the show. And then it shows up like weeks and weeks later on Netflix, where either the community has forgotten about it already, moved on to the next season, or it's done and there's consensus reached already and you can't really participate in the discussion about whether or not the show's good or whatever. And it just seems to me like Netflix doesn't really know how the whole like anime viewing community works. And it's good that they are bringing these shows to the West, but I feel like these are the kind of shows that would have made it anyway. And unless Netflix is really involved with financing them and creating them, which in this case it seems like they are, it would be better if another streaming platform brought them to the West, because like Funimation and Crunchyroll, they do like almost the same day kind of subs, so you can watch it the same time that it happens in Japan, more or less. But that's not the case with Netflix. Netflix takes their time, and they also release a dub, I think, whenever they release the show. So it takes even more time to do. And I'm not I'm not saying that their quality of subs and dubs is not good. That's definitely not the case. And it's definitely good that they're putting more money into the space, because that's something that we desperately need. But I just think that they should kind of like bend their strict rules a little bit and maybe broadcast something weekly. Just because that's the way how every other show is shown in the West, and that may bring them more eyes than not. If the way to watch one show weekly was like, oh, go to Netflix, instead of after the fact, after the discussion and the interest is all gone, then you can watch the show. Like, because Kakegurui, when it came out, when the first couple episodes came out, it was very popular, right? People were like, this is a crazy show about gambling and this girl is completely nuts, go watch the show. And people were like, where can I watch it? And it was like, the answer was, there is a way to watch it, but that way doesn't help anyone if you watch it that way. And then Netflix was like, oh yeah, here's Kakegurui 3 months after the fact with the dub and a sub, and people were like, that's nice, but I've already moved on to the next season of stuff, right? And if we're going to be in this seasonal anime paradigm, I really think Netflix should just bend to the will of the community and be like, hey, Prime Video is doing it also, like every week they're releasing an episode. Why can't we, right? So here you go. Here's an episode every week, the same time as in Japan. And maybe you don't need a dub until the whole show is done, so maybe you just have subs. And that may be the reason they're not doing it weekly, is it's impossible to do a dub on a weekly time frame that has any amount of consistent quality with what you would expect from a Netflix product. So I'm not expecting much change in that regard. It's just disappointing that a show like this can't be viewed week to week just because of Netflix's business model. So it's not so much of a complaint. I'm probably going to keep watching this. And if you liked what you saw, maybe you should too. So thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next video.